speaking all through. So uh, I wouldn't want it to be me speaking all through. So whatever presentation I'm able to make today, I would want to at least create some time to kind of have a dialogue, because I would see it to be that it's not pretty much for me an island of knowledge kind of conversation that I probably know all of the way out, and I feel that with interaction and with conversation and with questions, we can be able to shed more light as to uh, whatever we need to learn today. So thank you all, and thanks for Auto Aid in collaboration with TED Fund for giving me the opportunity to have this conversation or speak to you on this particular topic, titled Capacity Building for Early Career Researchers in Developing Countries that are seeking global career opportunities. I would consider myself someone who is a beneficiary of building myself to a large extent, and has contributed to me having gained opportunity to currently be working and be making decisions for a very large company here in the United States. So as my name is, described there, I'm Olushola Moses Aoyemi. You can easily call me Shola, or you call me Dr. Omar, or you call me Omar, as the case may be. And I'll be taking some minutes with you to go through these particular slides. Just see. So, with respect to this very topic, I'm going to be doing much of talking than whatsoever you might see on the slide. And the slide may just be a pointer to things that I probably will be talking about. So I'll be running through some key introductions about early career researchers, challenges that we are facing as early career researchers. I still consider myself one as well. So I'm going to be talking to us like a peer, So we're going to talk through career growth advantage that we have in this space as early career researchers. Talk through capacity building recommendations that I feel had worked for me, and maybe may work for someone else who's listening to me today. And also we look into a key part of having to improve our research activities. And I will use myself as a case study with my personal journey, which some people on this very call are probably familiar with. And then we have a dialogue. So who is an early career researcher? I consider myself one. So I would say in that case, we are someone or individual within 5 years from the date of us acquiring a position in the space of research related appointments, and outside of any form of delay of any kind that we might have while we're transitioning from finishing our PhD programs and trying to get into that research related appointment. And majorly, when we talk about people like us having a research related appointment as compared to while we were still in school, completing our doctoral dissertation, is such that whatsoever research related appointment that we're currently holding, we have full autonomy to a good extent, or to a very large extent. We have a control over the research. If you remember so well, while we're still trying to complete our doctoral degree programs or dissertation, we don't really have sole authority because we have a supervisor that needs to coordinate it. But in this case, as early career researchers, we have our own research related appointment that we probably are doing with, it might be in collaboration with an institution for those of us that are lecturers, and it might be in relation to an industry for those of us that are working in industry, like myself, working with the industry. And it might be a research related appointment that is connected to a regulatory body, like I was doing before while I was working with the United States Environmental Protection Agency. Another definition by NIH with respect to, so that initial definition came from a regulatory body from the United Kingdom. That's in Europe. And then we have a definition that, okay, that's initially from Canada, I would say. And then we have a definition that came from NIH here in the United States, and they put an early career researcher as an individual about to transition or has recently moved to a fully independent position as investigators or faculty members or clinician scientists and the likes. And a key part of that is a fully independent position is what we are holding. That means it's kind of tied to the initial definition, talking about research-related appointments where an individual has full autonomy. So if you see yourself in this category, then you're an early career researcher. And in terms of timeline, for me, I'm not really fixative as to whether it's within 5 years. I think that may be, individual based, depending on whether there was some delay even before we secure appointments, especially in a developing country like ours, for those that are listening to me in West Africa right now. And it could also happen to anyone even present in an advanced country. Not everybody who's got to have their PhD are able to transition directly to getting a full-time job that is where they have full autonomy of the job. So I would say generally it could be up to 10 years of your initial appointment after finishing, post PhD. And, it could also mean that you are in a position that's still within, 6 years of your first full autonomy kind of position that you're holding on. So this pretty much just to shed more light on who you are as an early career researcher. It might be that you see yourself within this category, and or probably you're already outside of this category. What are the challenges that are out there for us as early career researchers? It's pretty much because we're coming from a developing country, and some of these things are not only tied to us because we're in the developing world. Even in advanced country like in the US, because I had 2 PhDs here and I know what it means to even look for a job, while some of us might be opportune to get a job even before we finish PhD. I have colleagues of mine that even after PhD program, it took them some time to be able to even secure a job. So the first thing there is post PhD, what next? Many of us are faced with that very challenge in itself, where we are looking at challenges like career issues. Yes, I did my PhD research in this particular area. Do I need to look for a job or a career path in that line, even though I never really enjoyed that dissertation or PhD research that I did? Or because you enjoyed it so much, you thought you have to have a career in that part, in that line. When you start to look for job, then you're so fixative as to what type of job you're looking out for, whether in the industry or in academia or in regulatory body. And then coping with that very change that comes with finishing up with our doctoral degree program is a huge transition. And many get stuck in that very position. And it takes them time to be able to kind of, jump that particular stage of their decision making. Another part of it that I see that early career researchers kind of face is the lack of support from supervisors and mentorship. There are many of us. I think for me, I also faced this particular type of challenge during my doctoral degree program, while I was back home in Nigeria, even while I was also here in the US. I think that cut across, it's a global thing. And I would say that not everyone has got the opportunity or that intuitiveness to seek out for mentorship. Yes, we may have a supervisor, but is that very supervisor a mentor as well? That's a question that we may need to ask ourselves. But I would say mentorship is a good thing. Having to work hand in hand with someone who's passed through a career path the career path that we're trying to, follow that full step. We might gain a lot from such, but at times that supervision or mentorship may be lacking. Another part that I see as well, which I highlighted in red, is because it's very much a big problem to us back home in developing world, is because these things are pretty much in red means, to me, I see it more that at times they could be out of our control, And when I say out of our control, the key part of that is limited facilities, funding, and resources for research, education, and training. I know what it was for me when I was doing my PhD at home, because I spent a couple of time there at the University of Lagos with my research, knowing that I did a research in Obafemi Awolowo University and I did a part of my research as well at the University of Lagos. I knew what limited facility may cause if you're trying to do a high quality research. And that may even affect the aspect of publication as well, which is a key part of showcasing how much of the things that you know and you've done, even to people in the developing world, for them to see you and recognize you. So limited facility, funding, resources for research, education, and training is a very key challenge. I know it's outside of our control. However, I still don't see that stopping us from moving ahead and gaining expertise or gaining opportunities even in the global world. Another part of it is limited skills. I come to see these not outside of our control, but I see it to an extent on the part of laziness. I put it as laziness because research design, writing, and presentation are personal skills that we need to kind of strive towards achieving. But how many want to go through that rigor of whether buying extra textbooks or buying extra or taking extra courses that would help them in actually designing a research study that is very relevant, that would buying books or going for training that will improve their writing and presentation skills. That's also a challenge that I see that we face as early career researchers, and this challenge may impair us from getting that opportunity to compete on the global stage. Another part of it that I see is limited access to data and data collection tools. There are many things that I'm exposed to, like I work in the industry right now. And even as a toxicologist, knowing that I major in toxicological risk assessment for my company, and I help defend a lot of the products that need to go into commercialization if they need approval from the FDA. A lot of data sourcing tools that I'm privy to, just because my company pays for them with multiple thousands of dollars for me to have access to them. Not many of us working in an institution in Nigeria would want to pay $50,000 just to get access to a particular software for you to be able to collect data. So some of these are limitations that we also face as early career researchers. And some people are working in industry here or in some small companies here in the US as well, even advanced countries, that the companies don't have the resources to pay for these kind of tools. However, there are tools that are freely available to us to use, but how many are using them? It's a question again. There are so many tools that are out there by various regulatory bodies like the ECHA, like the EPA, like the NIH. There are so many tools that are out there that many don't even make use of for data collection, even before they start to put research design together. Another part that I see as a limitation is lack of collaboration opportunities that are out there. And the reason why I see this as a limitation is because we are competing on the global stage. And for us to get access to collaboration, some of us may have to go through extra efforts. We have to put in extra effort either by going to conferences in the international conferences that are held in all these advanced countries, to be able to connect with a professor or with another colleague, or be actively involved in some of these, what's it called now? Actively involved in some of these professional bodies for us to be able to make ourselves known. And that's another part. And there are a lot of other places to which we can seek collaboration. You know, whether it's on LinkedIn, ResearchGate, Google Scholar, you want to directly email a professor and the likes. However, I see that as a challenge because we're actually competing with people from all over the world, because early career researchers are not just only in West Africa or in the, in the developing countries. We have them. We are also here in the US, and we are all competing at times for the same position. And that collaboration may be limited because of that. So efforts may need to be put in place to even overcome such. Time management is another thing, which is work-life balance. For me, time management could also, in terms of work, could be the type of project you want to get done. How do you structure time around it? Not many are even involved in such project management skills in whatsoever research that they are doing. And quite a number, because of the rigor of living in developing countries, that may be impacting work-life balance in certain situations. So I see that as also a challenge that some of us as early career researchers may be facing. Lack of research culture and limited ethical standards. This is a big time challenge because I can tell that while I was doing research back home, compared to while I did my research in the US, I found that there are certain ethical standards that many institutions have put in place, and they have a body, a certain organization that probably anchor that within every institution here in the US, as compared to while I was at home. The type of study you have to do, if it's going to involve human subjects, if it's going to involve animal subjects, there's certain protocol that probably go with it and ethical standards that are attached to it. And I found that those things are also linked to publication as well. And in many cases, most of us just would conduct our research ignoring these very standards or research culture, and only find out that we would need some of those approval at the stage of publication, which shouldn't be. This should have been pre-approval thing even before you begin the research. However, many of us will start to look for those things at the point of publication. Another part that I see to that is inadequate effort for prioritization of our research problem. And the very last part to that would be missing linkages between different levels and stakeholders. I think I should touch a bit before I probably move out from this slide. When I say inadequate effort to prioritize our research problem, is also, I think for me, I see from what research do I actually need to do that would take me to the next level, that would help me for collaboration in the global environment. What is actually going on in the global stage, or within even my own immediate environment nationally, that I need to do that will actually speak so much of me to be able to get grants, for me to be able to gain collaboration with other great scientists that are out there, that may find such a research interesting. Not everybody is going to do research that are strictly in vitro analysis. Not everyone is going to do research that are strictly in vivo studies. And the type of animal studies we will do, not everybody is going to do the same thing. The type of, as a toxicologist, the type of chemical exposure analysis you're going to do and biomarkers you're going to look out for are going to vary. And that would play a role in who is out there that will be very much interested in what you're doing. Like heavy metal study, whether it's a PFAS kind of study, there are different studies at different period in time that regulatory bodies are ready to pour money into for you to be able to, to support that research. I have a friend actually in the US here. She came from somewhere, I think she came from Uniben, and we were in the same school together. She got a lot of funding. She was doing her research here. No, she was doing her PhD here. However, her research was about community area in Nigeria. I bet you, despite that the research was, she always would go home, all of her funding to go home and collect samples and come back was paid by different organizations here in the US. Funny enough, she got this, the interest was so much on it because it was a very unique research. And she prioritized that research in a way that while other people would see like they don't want to go home, even while they're here in the US, they don't want to go all the way to Nigeria to be doing research. I've had people that have gone all the way, and there are so many organizations here that are ready to fund such a research. Imagine now, you that are already in West Africa, or you're back home there, how much opportunity that would be to collaborate with such professors here to conduct such research at home. And that's what I mean by prioritizing research. And some of us, it may just be population study. Like the way we make use of the opportunity to conduct a study on COVID-19 while that very situation was ongoing. And I think the final part that I see as as a challenge is missing linkages between different levels and stakeholders. I think I mean that to say that how much are we influencing policy making at home or in our immediate community? I think there is probably some form of disconnect in that area, because in the advanced world where we are, or where I am right now, there's a strong collaboration between the academic institution and various stakeholders. There are companies that are out there ready to fund certain kind of study because they wanted to influence certain policies. There are regulatory bodies that are putting so much funds out there and in form of grants to support early career researchers. You will see people like NIH, NSF, USDA, like all the research I did for my PhD program and even for my postdoctoral program are funded by, regulatory bodies. I paid no dime. So I would say that where we are back home, there's a bit of that disconnect, because I actually really don't see much of that at the forefront of our own research back home, where people like the NAFDAC, people like the people in the environment, the probably, how can I put it now, the other national bodies that are out there, whether non-governmental organizations or government bodies that could help, like LACEPA or USEPA and all of those, to kind of help fortify our own research, because we actually are people that would conduct a lot of great research, but because that disconnect is out there and we may have to make deliberate efforts to bring them in. If they are not coming to us, we might have to make deliberate effort to bring them in and let them know what we are actually doing. All hopes is not lost, because we have a career growth advantage. That's why we are early career researchers. A lot of growth advantages out there for us because of so many reasons, whether it's the industry, regulatory body, academic institutions, They know so well that we are very good and we are very much needed to improve science. We are very much needed to improve science. And so I would say that it is very much of an advantage to us that we are still very much needed. Even in this advanced world, we are so much, many of us are needed. All we need to just be able to do is to showcase ourselves. And to showcase ourselves, a lot is going to be involved. And this other part of it is that many of these regulatory bodies and the government, the private institutions, the industries, the academic institutions, professors that are out there looking for researchers, they know that we are very diverse future leaders. Because many professors are out there, or researchers that are established in their own ways are out there, and many are stuck in their ways. It's not going to be easy for them to kind of transition. So they need people like us to be able to come help. And because they know that we are open to new solutions, we are still early career. Well, they're not expecting us to be fixative in one direction as at this early stage. They believe so well that we are open to learning, we are open to new solutions, and many of us would have to even change research focus to be able to transition to the next level. And that's very key. And that is a career growth opportunity for us, or an advantage for us. They know that we are optimistic and we have so much, gusto in us, or we have so much enthusiasm to be able to get on a new opportunity, especially if the opportunity is coming from an advanced world. Who amidst us here right now listening to us, who is back home, doing some research at home and using your own salary to kind of run a research, versus you get an opportunity to work with a professor in an advanced country with everything paid. All you just need to do is show up and do the research. Everybody probably will be optimistic and enthusiastic to kind of conduct such research with so much interest, to have it done. And they know that we have hands-on role. Most of us, we sit down there. Many professors don't want to do research again in the lab, but people like us as early career researchers, we will actually sit down and get this study done for them. Even though it's, that becomes our own form of employment. And in that case, it's a research that we have an autonomy on, because they entrust that research in our hands to get it done. And they know that at times, in this case, we have time availability. Time is available to us to actually get some of this research done. I don't know, sorry, my system is saying you're about to be signed out. It might be my own system that is trying to instruct me to restart. But in case anything goes off, I don't know if I can control that. I will, let's see, snooze. In case it goes off and I cannot control that, I will probably come back on. Okay, so there is time in our hands.
Okay, noted.
Okay, so there is time to get things done on our hands. Reason why many of the professors in this advanced world, or organizations in the advanced world, would need us. And one thing I must say to you about this time availability is this: because they know our work ethic from people like us that that are coming from that side of the world, they know so well that if they pay us certain stipend and then pay us our certain salary, and we have every of the resources available to us, they see how much dedication we put to research. And in that case, as compared to people from these parts that grew up from here easily they can migrate and move on to the next thing if something is not really working well. But they see how much resilience we have in doing research, and the interest, that kind of it will get much of their interest to want to take on us as their own colleagues, or for you to come work with them as a part-time researcher or as a co-PI to a particular grant that they have. And they all know that we are, in every of these industries and academic institutions, regulatory body, they know that we are the majority of workforce these days. Many of the old professors are retiring. Many of the old researchers are retiring. Research is changing direction. And most of the people that are able to take on the changes are the early career researchers. Pretty much a career advantage, a growth advantage for us as early career researchers. What are my recommendations for you as an early career researcher in order for you to be able to build your skills, in order for you to be able to showcase your talent, in order for you to be able to improve on your own research activity, for you to be able to, garner so much knowledge to transitioning into becoming an expert in your field. Because to an extent, we are not really an expert in our field yet. Even though we are moving in that direction, we are trying to acquire as many more skills to be able to make ourselves grounded in the field that we have. And I think for me, the best part of it is self-development. And with self-development comes variety of things. Mentoring. Not many of us see mentorship as a very key thing. You think you're an island. In some cases, that's how some of us feel. But not until you involve yourself in a mentorship relationship with someone who has taken that journey you're about to take to kind of guide you through not only supervision in this case, but actual mentorship. And that's why you will see in many professional bodies some of us belong to, there's always a section for mentorship where they connect us with people that are already advanced in the field. Bounce back knowledge, to kind of bounce back knowledge with them. So mentorship, I would recommend, if you don't have a mentor at this point in time, for anyone on here listening to me today, if you have not built any form of mentor-mentee relationship, like some of us have people we mentor, right? We also need to be mentored. And if you don't have that at this point in time, I would recommend that is a key part to growth. To have a mentor-mentee relationship with someone who's already advanced in your field, or in any of the field that you're aspiring to get yourself involved in. Another part of that is teamwork. Teamwork is a key thing that works with people, whether in fact, as early career researchers, if you're involved in research, it is never going to be you alone doing a research. If only you is doing a research, then something is wrong. Because this is science. If we all here are scientists, even in non-science areas, I would say without involving groups, if you're running a research that is pretty much, say, for example, as a toxicologist, you are running a research study that has to do with exposing certain organisms to certain chemicals. You cannot totally know everything about the chemical from the chemistry standpoint. And in that case, you would need a relationship or a teamwork or a collaboration with someone from that very area of that very field as a chemist. So you have a relationship as a biologist now with a chemist. You cannot totally understand everything that is regarding the data analysis part of your research. If you know, good, it may be an advantage to you. But if not, then you may need to team up with people who have an understanding or a good background of statistics. So teamwork is a very key thing, and it works in the industry as well, besides academia. I work in my own industry right now. While I was working with the EPA, it's a team of people. I was a toxicologist, there are chemists, there are engineers, and we all bounce back knowledge as a team and work towards a common goal. while I work with the industry right now, I'm the subject matter expert for toxicological risk assessment in most of the documentation that we need to submit to FDA for approval of a particular product. However, on that same document, you would have chemists, analytical chemists have their own part, clinicians, we have their own part, population scientists, we have their own part. So it's a combination of work from different people with different expertise. We come together, we make a document, to be able to defend the company. Everything is still towards a common goal. So teamwork is very key. And one part of the teamwork that some of us may find challenging eventually is your personality type. Your personality type is very, very key. And that's why some of us might need to actually go through like Myers-Briggs personality type, the 16 personality type. You may need to go into, Google that online and try to know your own personality type and how that may impact you working in, hand in hand with other people that you might meet later in life or you're currently working with. Work-life balance is also a key part. You need to have a work-life balance. You need to have a good time management also in the aspect of your self-development. And career planning is also key. Every good industry here in the Western world, they always have a career planning goal, majorly to be able to also, for you, while you're helping with the, helping to grow their company, they want to also grow you. And that's why you will see many companies that are out there in this Western world, and I think some institutions back home as well do the same, where they sponsor you for conference to go to conferences, they sponsor you for training, and they pay a couple of thousands of dollars. So it's also a key part. And if you don't have the initiative on your own to have a career plan, where do I want to be in the next 3 years? What are my short-term goals? What are my long-term goals in this very institution that I am before I transition to the next place? If I'm going to transition to the next place, what next am I going to do? What career path? What do I need to do? All these questions, we need to have to sit down and structure it and ensure that it is feasible. You have a 3-year plan, a 5-year plan. You need to have deliverables to be able to say, I actually met this plan as said. If something changed, go back to that plan and see how you can get that restructured. But a career plan is really key. Like for me, I knew I wanted to work with a regulatory body, EPA, for example. I got it years later that I wanted it. I felt, okay, it was time for me to leave the EPA and join the industry because I needed to gain industrial knowledge and application of my business degree with toxicology in an industry because I felt it would be better off. And then I knew I was going to.
Please, let's just hold on for a few minutes. I'm sure Dr. Umar will come back shortly. Thank you. We can be using this opportunity to pen down our questions. If you have questions, immediately finish with his presentation, then we'll be able to ask, we'll give room for people to ask questions. And just after the presentation,
Okay. So sorry for that break. I'm gonna think
Okay,
that should,
welcome back, Dr.
yeah, thank you. Okay, I think they should be fine now. Whatever that was is gone. Okay, so as I was saying, I think I ended up with career planning. I think I would leave it at that point, at that very place. So the very next part that I feel is very key is research skills. This will take many of us a long way. Our research skills is very key, not because I'm a professor in an institution, means we can't sharpen our research skills if there is any area of deficiency that we may have already. And in improving our research skills, a key part of that would be data and literature gaps. What do I mean by data and literature gaps? Is the fact that I made mention earlier that currently in my industry, even to search for data by itself, we have software that the company bought. Like, I'm talking about thousands of dollars that the company had to buy so that we can have access to certain information. There are companies that my company has to pay to be able to get access to certain information that not anybody, anyhow person can be able to get access to. You know, outside that, there are so many freely available resources. Like for me, even if I have to study a particular chemical, just a single chemical by itself, I have at least 30 different research databases that I can go into, which I know is also available to many people in different fields, not just because it's my own field of toxicology. Just to gather information about a chemical alone, I have at least 30 different databases that I can go to freely, besides the one my company paid for, that I can go to freely to be able to access a lot of information. And why do we need that? We need that because you don't want to conduct a research that so many people have already published about. It's already out there. People already know what you're doing. But you want to identify areas to which you can actually contribute something very significant to the body of knowledge. Is the reason why we would need a lot of that identification of literature gaps or data gaps. And it goes with a lot of, sourcing for information. How many of us are out there and how many papers do we have to read to be able to identify gaps? Could be so many. However, we can identify literature gaps or data gaps via various means. But a good part of it would be to actually, if you want to do relevant research, listening to news, following up with either local, national, global news, listening to, subscribing to news information from a key part of these regulatory bodies, as well as subscribing to news information from professional bodies as well. And we can identify research, research gaps or literature gaps by going through all of these in itself. One more thing I would say with respect to identifying gaps, like I made mention of the fact that I could go into at least 30 different databases, even if in my own making of decision, because I have situations whereby we might have submitted, say, for example, in my workplace, we might have submitted a report to FDA. And because the FDA, for example, they have their own resources as well and their own scientists available to them. At times they throw back questions to us for us to be able to defend. And that would determine whether FDA is going to approve any of our products, a particular product at hand, or to deny us. So that means You don't just want to have any form of omission going on saying, oh, we omitted this, because a lot of lawsuits can come from that can bankrupt a company. And you don't want to make such a mistake, meaning there's nothing like, I forgot this. You need to source for as many information and be sure confidently that you've been able to identify all of the gaps that are out there when designing or coming up with your research, or providing any support on behalf of the company if you are the one in that very space. Study design. I put study design in this area of research skills because, believe me, I've worked with so many professors, and I know that quite a number of them, based on their students that I help in analyzing their data, that a lot are making mistake, or many would make mistake from this aspect of designing the study, even from the beginning. And most of these mistakes you only identify at the final stage of analyzing data, which should not be, it shouldn't even be happening at all. If you have to get to the point of data analysis for you to identify that there was a mistake from the initial study design, then that aspect should not even be happening. So I would say sharpening research skills in that area of study design is very key. Are you conducting a retrospective study, or a cohort study, or you want to do an in vitro analysis, or you want to get yourself involved in an in vivo study? What kind of model will be best for you to use to be able to get a clearer picture of a particular type of toxicants? Because we have had situations whereby you're trying to make a decision on a particular chemical that would be relevant to human being, for example. However, we'll be made to understand that that particular chemical would have a certain role to play in the outcome if exposed to a rat versus a mice. And the role they play in either, one of them could be much more tied to humans than the other one. Having this clear understanding and designing your study for relevance is very key. And that aspect you can go through by going into a lot of training, or continual education and the likes, for you to kind of ground yourself more in your ability to design relevant research studies. And also another part of that is to network and collaborate. And to network and collaborate, it will take a deliberate effort on our own part. Some of us, we have to carry our research that we have done, publish it, so that other professors out there can read and then connect with us. It might be that we'll be the one to actually go out there to go and present some of our research findings in international organizations, so that we can have access to other researchers that may be interested in our work. We need to put it to them and then create that interest for that collaboration to take place. Instrumentation is another thing. And I think that is a key part of what might be holding us back, as well as early career researchers back in developing countries, because we don't even have access to those instrumentation in the first place. However, we may need to take deliberate effort to overcome these in various ways. And one of the key ways I would recommend is this. I have had a member of our journal club who connected with me to tell me what he or she was doing. No, he's a he. So what he was doing, he explained to me what he was doing, and he needed a place where he could carry out his analysis because the instrumentations are not available back home. And in certain cases where instrumentation are available back home, you don't even have hands-on experience in them. You give your samples to some analysts to get it done for you. And that skill may be lacking in us for us to actually operate those instrumentation, or those instruments rather. And in the case of this very person, after introducing himself and telling me about this study, and I felt, okay, I think I have an understanding of what he explained. I could connect him to professors that have all these instruments here in the US. Lo and behold, it's cut long story short, the guy was here for 6 months in the US in a lab that I actually have worked myself, because I've seen those instruments, I've used those instruments myself. And from journal, just this way, we have this whole journal club, was able to connect him to that same lab and was able to come spend 6 months here in the US to get all of his study done. And one thing that would do for him is this, because I saw even on the department, the professor's Facebook page, or whether it was Facebook page or LinkedIn, when the guy was leaving and they did like a farewell whole thing for him, I saw what they wrote about him. What that would create for him is that if he wants to come for a postdoc, beautiful part of it is that he doesn't have to even come for a postdoc in that same lab, but because now he has created a relationship while he was trying to learn, in the process of learning instrumentation skills or gaining more knowledge with instrumentation, he was able to connect himself with people within this part of the world that would recommend him to other places should he find opportunity crossing his path. And I've seen situations like that because I have friends of mine that are also in this club, this journal group, and that were in Unilag together, that came that same way to get a part of their research study done. And as a result of that, they are here, with opportunities to continue their research here after they finish back home. So that could be two things in one. You're gaining hands-on experience on your instrumentation, and at the same time, you have opportunity to collaborate and network with other people for more opportunities. So that aspect is very key. Shouldn't be at all times that someone else will have to conduct our research for us. There should be an inner drive for us to say, I actually want to learn about HPLC. I actually want to conduct LCMS, MS, GCMS. I want to do this thing myself. Microplate readers, PCR machines. I actually want to work and operate on those things myself. I bet you if I was back home in Nigeria, I might not even have had the opportunity to operate PCR machines myself. PCR machines are things that I will wake up morning and I will be there till morning and day after day for several years, months to years that I operated repeatedly. So if I wake up tomorrow and still get back to the instrument within few revision, I'll probably be able to handle them, even though I don't use them anymore at this point in time. GCMS, HPLCs, I wouldn't have had the opportunity of using those instruments back home in developing country because we don't really have access to those things. So it might be a deliberate effort for you that only this aspect of instrumentation would be something that may need to push you out of that environment to connect with someone out here to conduct those, make use of those instruments to be able to contribute to your research. And that would help for collaboration as well. Data analysis. I see these very key parts as vital because it's in some way ability to analyze data in your mind has a long role to play in your research design. How you design a study is very much hinged upon your ability to analyze data upfront in your mind. If you can recreate data in your mind, know what kind of study, data that may come out, have an idea how you need to analyze it, it will help you actually in designing that study. And many of us are lacking in that area. There are a lot of resources out there for us to analyze data. Whether it is SPSS, whether it's R package, R studio, whether it's JMP stats, whether it's, there are so many out there. I use a couple as well. And to a good extent, because I have found out that many students who come to me for me to help them analyze their data, it is at that point I'm able to identify the mistake they made from the data design, from the design of the study itself from the beginning. They've actually made a mistake that they never even knew. their professors never identified, they themselves never identified until the point of me beginning to analyze the data or seeing that data by itself, even without starting to analyze. The moment I see some data and I ask them what they were intending to do, and I see that there's a disconnect between what they are trying to analyze versus what they actually were intending to do and design. So at times, there needs to be a connection, a very strong bond in you understanding what data you're about to generate and how you intend to use the data. And that will help in understanding what data analysis that need to be conducted. We all know with data itself, there are a variety of things involved in that, whether your data is categorical, we all know that, whether it's, is non-categorical, whether it's a study that had to do with whether you want to use a parametric analysis or you want to use a non-parametric analysis. And I know there are a lot of efforts put in place by journal aid to help us improve our knowledge and understanding of data analysis, which I have seen a lot of presentations done in that area, and I appreciate the journal aid club for that opportunity provided to us. I would recommend in some situations that you just would need to do more on our own to source for a lot of studies that are out there or a lot of resources that are out there to help improve in this area of data analysis. And I have taken, even though I've been well grounded in my data analysis, right from OAU to Unilab, then to the US, I decided to take on more studies online on Coursera to be able to ground myself more on and sharpen my skills more on data analysis. If you're a toxicologist or any form of scientist, data analysis is still very key to everyone. And you may need to go through some of these courses yourself. They are free. And if some of them are required for you to pay, you just need to ask for a fee waiver because you're from and you give your reasons of being in a developing country, and they waive it for you, and can easily take on those courses and help. And whatever certification you get from it, it can also be part of your resume that you learn this particular skill. Another part of it is writing skills. Whether you're trying to apply for grants or research awards of any kind, they may ask you, in research award, they may ask you to write a one-pager describing the study you want. How do you communicate such research that you're trying to do, no matter how big or small, concisely in a one-pager? How do you write an extensive grant? How do you come up with writing a quality academic paper so you don't get rejected at all times, or you're able to get published in high impact peer reviewed journals? It's hinged upon your writing skills. You may 3-4 people may be applying for the same study, and many times any grant you're applying for, you're not the only one. There are so many people also who saw the adverts and they are trying to get into that same space. How do you distinguish yourself? And I would say sharpening your writing skills is also very key. Some journal club or some journals feel because we are from developing countries, English is not really our mother tongue. So we need somebody who understands English to kind of peer review our work and the likes. But I would say having someone also to read on whatsoever grant paper you put together, or research award application you put together, or academic papers, your manuscript that you have put together, having someone else to kind of proofread for you is also very, very key. And in terms of writing skills, there are a lot of resources that are out there that have to do with how to publish a very well-grounded academic research that you can also read, to kind of be able to have an understanding of how to use your conjunctions, how to put up your statements in a way that is much more convincing for whoever is going to be reading, and more understandable by the person that is, to the general audience. So because whatever you're writing is not for an audience of one, it's not just for you. is for as many that are out there. And because your paper is going to be scrutinized by so many, for you to be able to scale a particular hurdle, that you want to put your best foot forward. So I would say sharpening your research skills, or writing skills rather, is very key in this area. Let me give an example to that. I have seen situations whereby someone was paid. The guy is my friend, the lecturer back home before. He was actually paid to come here all the way from, this is not even science. This is German studies. But he has written some very interesting articles that a professor in Vanderbilt University came across it. And all of his admission and everything was pretty much not the usual way of him coming over to the US and for him to, come work with the professor. He paid all of his airfare, he paid for everything, just because someone wrote something really fascinating and the professor in the global world, found interest in it. And that was a way of transitioning for the person from being a lecturer back home in one of the very top schools here in the US. So I would say you want to put up a research paper that is mind-blowing, that can garner as many citations as possible. Because when people see it and people see it and people see it and it's gaining so much of that citation, somebody can connect with you and be like, this very study of yours, can you come work with them? And that's how things change for us many. Just that on just a publication alone, people have been able to transition from that very environment as early career researchers back home and then being here to continue their life, or go to any other part of the world that is probably advanced as well, where they know that if they are there, they will do better. And I'm not saying you cannot even do it at home. You can also have that same collaboration at home. They will just let you know that they would want to collaborate with you even while you're home, because if your study is very national and very local, and they see that there is a prospect to it, they don't need you to come here. They will pay you all the way from here to there. And you will live your life as if you're here. You'll be paid in the same currency as if you're here, but you're back home, which is, for me, I see it as a better life. Because if I see such opportunity, I'll probably be back home in Nigeria. And the next part of it is engagement. I don't know how many of us are involving ourselves in this area of having to actually go for presentation. I know that because of limitations like finances and the like, some of us would say, I'd rather not go abroad and have a presentation, you'd rather stay local. Yeah, it's not a bad thing, but you still have to ensure that you are putting yourself out there to a global environment, because that's the aim, is to be known by the global community, not just within our local, surrounding or national environment by itself. And presentation, while you can do presentation that is regional, national, it could be regional, it could be just within the West African body itself, and it could be global, it could be international. Even if it is held back home in Africa, it could still be international. And then you have other people from other international environments coming to participate in such. So I would say presentation is also a very key part. And I would recommend that for anyone listening to me, try as much as possible. The sacrifice you're going to pay, especially if your anticipation and your desire is to connect with the global world, whether you want to transition away from the Western world, from the developing world to a developed world, I think you should pay the sacrifice, because I feel it will be very helpful. And whatsoever benefits you're going to see from here is going to outweigh whatsoever sacrifice you're going to pay, if you pay it the right way. So I would say presentation is very key, and we need to be able to really know and prepare for our presentations, because you don't want to have like a platform presentation, or even you might have to present a poster, for example, and the professor walks your parts, and ask you to download that particular poster to them in 3 minutes. And that way, they just want to see how well you can summarize things, and they just want to, that skill may just be what a professor is actually, they know you've done the research, but they need somebody that can do that. Like in my own company right now, we always have, every Monday is always a presentation day. You will see over 200 people from the company come together and people present very fascinating sciences all the time. I have done my presentation with them as well. And since you know so well, you're in a company where every Monday people are always gathering together for a science strategy forum, where so many people are out there just waiting for you to come and present what you're doing in your company. This is not even academia now. People do very fascinating science, from chemistry, from clinical, from preclinical, from population science. People come to present their studies. And if you're not really well grounded in your presentation skills, it may be a limitation. Another reason why I say that is this: I have been part of my company to interview scientists that are trying to come on board, non-scientists that are trying to come on board. And I see that one of the key things we use to cut some people off the interview stage is the ability to deliver. They might have done so many crazy research and outstanding research, but the ability to communicate it is a big problem. And I've seen that with people that are maybe international, especially coming from maybe West Africa or from another place, that the accent and everything seems to be a challenge in having to deliver what you've actually done. So presentation skill is something that you really need to work on. And to work on that will require you to do repeated presentation for you to perfect that. Me, myself, as a personal person, I remember while I was in grad school for my PhDs, I always like to compete. Like if you see me in this picture up here, I like to compete. This is a competition with American College of Toxicology, where I was also part of them. I like competition, always competing for what, maybe some $5,000, but besides the money, for me, I just like competition. So, and in this research, in this very competition, some evaluators will come, like 3 or 4 of them, and you will present before them, and they would, they will grade you. So those are things, and they will give you recommendations and the likes. These are the things that we might need to be able to, help sharpen that presentation skills. I have attended so many 3-minute dissertation competition where everything you're doing in your research, you want to come talk about it in 3 minutes. And it's a platform presentation. You present it with your PowerPoint slide in 3 minutes. You want to download everything you're doing in your research study and communicate it effectively to the audience. So presentation skills, it will have to be a deliberate effort for you to improve in that area if you really want to. And it will help you a long way. It might be whether in your academic space or whether in an industry, whether you're with the EPA or regulatory body of any kind. And it will help you during your interview. Because I remember so well, before I interview, when I was interviewing with my company that I am right now, I had to do I think it was a 20-minute presentation. When I joined the EPA, I had to do a 20-minute PowerPoint presentation before I got, employed with them. Same way when I joined the industry as well. So that means a presentation skill, whatever research, because they've seen our research that we have been doing, maybe they've seen it on our LinkedIn page, in our resume and the likes. Actually, they want to know whether you can deliver it. So I would recommend that it's also something that we work on as much as possible. Digital media, I'm not going to talk much about this. Majorly, some of us might just need to have forums that would involve ourselves in. It might be a TV program, it might be a radio program that you just have a connection with some, some media outlet, and it might just be a website or a social media that you just, at least deliver something. It might be just a technical report. It might just be a 1-pager or a piece of information that you just need to deliver. And it could also be a dialogue. You can have community of scientists come together and dialogue on, have dialogues on issues that are pressing or emerging issues in your field. And you might be deliberate to have to do that. And then some of us will need to also involve in exchange programs. It could be teaching, it could be research. I see professors doing this. So how come we as early career scientists can't do such a thing? Because I've seen professors that are well-grounded in their area and they still do these exchange programs. They come to my school, for example. I've seen professors that have been professors for many years who come to my school and come and teach, and another professor from here will go and teach the person's course back in Nigeria. Some of us may need to collaborate with such, look for such exchange programs. Like if you're in my own company, for example, in my own Society of Toxicology, for example, they have that such program. And I'm very sure there are a lot of organizations or professional bodies pertaining to our research area that have these exchange programs that you may need to tap into. You may need to tap into it because they need someone from here to go teach your course at home, and they need someone from home to come, to come teach here, just to have that collaboration ongoing. And to be able to, and they will give you certain grants to be able to, if anything is lacking at home, they want to provide such, and that you need, and you feel will help your student at home, they will give you grants to be able to provide such resources for, to be able to help your student at home. So exchange programs are very key. And that's the area of academia, for example. Like some people will say you went for sabbatical, right? Some was something similar to that. And there are areas to which exchange program could just be that you have, for example, exchange program could be that you only have to come and do some research participation with some of the organizations here in the US. It could be a regulatory body. Without the only exchange is that they are giving you that grounded knowledge so that you can take it back home and exchange it with your students. So I would say many of them are out there, and I would indulge some of us, or appreciate if some of us can actually tap into that area of exchange programs if possible. Especially those in academia and masters, there are opportunities for us to connect through various professional bodies that are out here in the global world so that you can easily connect. Because here in the global world and in these professional bodies, they understand the challenges we are facing at home, and they are trying to help bridge the gap. And a way to bridge the gap is to do these exchange programs, all fully funded by the professional bodies. And I have known people that have done that. I am a member of Society of Toxicology, and I have known Nigerians that have come all the way from home, all expense paid, gone to another country entirely, where all these professors are that are already top professors of the society, and they are ready to, the society is ready to pay for all of those exchanges for you to tap into this opportunity. So I would say, please tap into this opportunity if need be, and you can connect that through being a member of professional organization. Being a member of professional organization, yeah. And then training is also a part of it. When I talk about training, I mean various things. Like I said, I've had people within our journal club that have been able to recommend, for example, to come and do research and stay 6 months in the US, and they had a part of their research completed here because they have with hands-on exposure and opportunity to handle those instrumentations on their own. And training could be in the form of postdoctoral training. We are still within 5 years of our program, and nothing stops us from doing 2, 3, 4, 5 postdocs. I have seen people in the US that will do postdoc in about 4 different places of altogether 5 to 10 years. Because postdoc is considered an employment in itself because they pay you salary. The salary may not be that much like the type of the professor, a full professor, because it's still on the contract. But I've seen people do multiple postdoctoral, training. So I would say, if it's possible for some of you who already have PhD at home and then you are an early career researcher listening to me right now, it's not a big deal because you're a professor doesn't mean you cannot do postdoc. So don't let that kind of cloud your mindset that because, oh, I'm already a professor already or I'm already an assistant professor in my field, or I'm already an established scientist in my field, you're still within 5 years, nothing is fully established. I would say if it's possible for you to take on a postdoctoral position to gain more knowledge, and if you choose to go back home, all good. Like I would love to go back home. So another part of it is the fact, and to talk more on postdoctoral position could be that you've done postdoc with an academic institution, maybe where you were back home. It might be an opportunity to do a postdoctoral, to have a postdoctoral training, actually with maybe a regulatory body for a diverse knowledge and skill. And it might be also be good to have it in the industry, just to have a diverse knowledge and skill. Another part of the training is technical training. There are a lot of, though this aspect might be limited because you have to pay. Like I go for technical training, but my company will pay for it. Maybe some institutions are doing that for some of us at home, then good. I have technical training that I go for that is $10,000, $15,000. I don't pay a dime. All my airfare, all my hotel bills, everything is paid by my company. So it's not the case for some of us at home. And some of us may just need to tap into the opportunity to come here to get that done. Continuing education is a key part. I don't pay for continuing education. My company pays all of that. Continuing education, you could get it done if you go for conferences, and outside conferences, you would have professional bodies who run it intermittently across the period of the year. But most times you get it done at international conferences where all forms of scientists from every stages of life will come together and listen to a variety of lectures in your field of interest. So continuing education could also help you in your certifications. Quite a number of us would have certain certification, like you will see maybe I am a board certified toxicologist in the US. I'm not just a toxicologist, because there are so many toxicologists that will graduate from the US institution, but not many of us are board certified. So in my own case, being a board certified toxicologist put me in a different niche entirely, because when you're looking for jobs, you would see why many would say they want a PhD with 2 years or 3 years or 5 years experience. You would see another bullet point would be that they're asking for preferably someone that is board certified. So that means as it's already sidelining as many toxicologists that may be interested in applying for that position. Some of us have already been, niched out of the many. And for me, differentiating myself from the crowd is always a very strong target and motivation for me. Distinguishing myself, which was why while my colleagues were having to get one master's back while I was in Nigeria, I decided to have two. When I came here, not really I wanted to have 2 PhDs, but it happened that I had it. And I'm trying to get to the 3rd one. But the main part of that was why I was on my 2nd PhD, why I wanted to distinguish myself from that crowd. I also decided to have a business administration master's degree, because I knew that in my future, I see myself becoming a CEO. I see myself making decisions. And I know that science by itself cannot give me that skill. So I needed a business administration skill, which I got alongside with my PhD. So distinguishing yourself with continuing education is very, very key as well. And if there is a certification that is tied to your field, I would say you get certified. Let yourself be known and distinguish yourself from the crowd. Engage policymakers. Not many of us are involving ourselves in this area. I work with a company, but I engage with FDA people, and I've been in the EPA, and I've engaged with quite a number of policymakers as well. It is a very key area that I've come to understand that many professors who engage in this way get more funding. They are very well known. Whenever there's a grant application that is, opportunity that is out there, some professors are already known to all this regulatory body for them to easily recognize that these people, they are knowledgeable enough to actually conduct a thorough research. And believe me, whether we like it or not, bias will always be there, whether in publication, whether in getting grants approved, whether in getting research awards. It's always going to be there that human inherent biases will be there when they are selecting or shortlisting, especially when they find someone who is already an established person in that area that they've communicated with over time. So I would say you engage policymakers as much as possible, which was why for me, at some point in my life, I would go to conferences that is only for policymakers, people from FDA, from National Science Foundation, from NIH, from NIEHS, from EPA. I only attend, at times, I would go to only conferences that is geared for those people alone, where we all come together and bounce back knowledge and get yourself known and collaborate with these very people. And then professional organization is the last one, which we have been talking about all through this part of engagement. If you're not a part of any professional body as at this time, I would encourage you. It's not too much to have to be a member of 2, 3, 4 professional bodies and be active in all of these bodies. You don't have to, if you know you're only able to get into one professional organization and be fully active, be fully active. For me right now, for example, I found that there was a time that I actually needed help with my residency in the US and the application that I need to make. And the people that had to write recommendation for me are from these professional organizations that I belong to, because they knew how active I was when I was with them. So at times, like for me, I've been part of professional organization where I am part of the outreach committee. I am part of the membership committee. I have been a mentor for many of their undergrads. I don't just attend or be a member of the professional body for just being a member. Staying active with this professional body is also very, very key. And the very last part of that would be all other forms of skills may be out there for you to acquire. Among that would be critical thinking, critical reasoning. If you're going to be part of my industry, you have to be ready to provide a problem-solving critical reasoning skill. You just need to be able, because I remember when I was trying to, when I was to present during my interview to get a job, the question was, what am I going to bring? What am I bringing to the table? Ability to think, ability to solve problems. And I remember when I joined the EPA, during my interview stage, they actually gave me a paper to read. This is what happened with my EPA interview. They gave me a paper, part of my interview, not all of the stages. The very early part of the interview stage was, they gave me a paper to read. I'm to sit down within 1 hour, complete and digest that, that academic paper that was published, because it's an area to which they are looking into doing research. And they asked me a couple of questions, and I need to respond to that question all within 1 hour. You need to read about 16 pages of a paper. You need to summarize it like you are recreating the abstract. So they redacted the abstract and they want me to read the body of the paper. And then the question they were asking is like, for me, I could understand that they want me to recreate an abstract and summarize the entire study and identify data gaps. I have done that kind of interview a couple of times with US EPA, with California EPA. California EPA will always want you to do that. In fact, their interview is almost like that all of the time. And when I joined the industry that I am, it was in the form of a presentation. I have to come and then present and showcase what I need to bring to the table and how I differ from every other applicant that are applying. So I would say critical thinking skill, problem-solving skill are very, very key. And when I joined my company, it was at a point where they have a vision for a transition. And for that vision was one of the key reasons to which I joined them, because they are trying to move people from a certain type of product into a different type of product category to which I work with. And ability to involve change is very, very key. That's the needed and probably part of the skills we were looking for in hiring new people, new scientists to join, to join the workforce. English proficiency is good. We can always, people will say, yes, science is not about English, but yes, your ability to present in English, if you go into the global world or any other country you go to that's advanced and they need you to communicate in the language, they might be needed. But in this case, I would say it's English for me because I'm in the US or in the Western world. So you might need to sharpen your ability to speak boldly and confidently, especially when it comes to what you already are grounded in. And that is very, very key. And the very last part of that would be your Microsoft application skills. Not everyone have an understanding of the Microsoft suite that has a variety of things that you can do with it. It could be Microsoft Excel, especially the Excel spreadsheet. Like when I was in business school, all my statistics was on Excel spreadsheet, and I gained so much from that. What I thought Excel could not do, I knew so much, and I'm still learning today because I have other colleagues in my area, because we're about 20 toxicologists in my unit alone, board certified toxicologists with diverse skills. And I've seen people do crazy things and very interesting things with Excel spreadsheets that you will feel so fascinated in the way they present using Excel spreadsheet. So we might need to really sharpen all of these skills. And I have taken certification programs with because it was a part of the requirement to graduate the business school is to do, to take the Microsoft, and it was the school that paid for it. So why wouldn't you even do it? So they paid for it for us to be able to get that certification because they know that skill is even very much needed for us. There are many things I did in finance, many things I did in accounting, that if I don't have the spreadsheet, it will be very hard for me to manually do those calculations. And I'm prone to error in that, if I go through it manually. But the spreadsheet was just a way of tracking down things that you're doing. So it might be needed for us to be able to use some of those, avail ourselves the opportunity to learn from those applications that may be out there for us to make use of. And many of us are going to involve ourselves in professional organizations, or you're going to involve yourself in some companies or industries that many of your communications will be on all those, your ability to make use of some of these Microsoft applications. So I would say, try and go out there. There are so many of the training you can receive on Coursera and some other MOOC kind of tools that are, bodies that are out there for you to learn and get certified in these areas. The last part that I'm going to touch on that I think I'm digesting this very part a bit more. Reason is because we call ourselves early career researchers. However, there are many of us that if they are to tell us the truth about our research abilities or research activities, we might find loopholes, we might find limitations, we might find that we are not doing enough. And as a result, I would just encourage us to improve in whatsoever research area that we find ourselves and we're trying to become an expert. We are transitioning to be an expert. We are still at the early phase. We're still growing. We need to improve our research activities. And a key part of that will be to demonstrate understanding of high quality research. Demonstrate an understanding of high quality research. If you're going to talk to a professor here, or you talk to an expert here that you're trying to come work with, you have to have the ability to demonstrate that strong understanding that you can actually conduct a high quality research. It can be that you have a professor that is actually looking for somebody who is just to help with in vitro analysis. Like in my company, there have been positions that have been put out there on LinkedIn, and they've told internally, if we know anybody who has some certain skills on in vitro studies or in vitro analysis, we should recommend them. That means there is a research area or niche that they want you to actually be an expert in and have an understanding. And by the time you're coming for an interview, they want you to come and present that understanding. And you have to have that ability to demonstrate that understanding of high quality research. And a key part of that also is that you are able to understand your goals and objectives of any research that you're trying to create or recreate or contribute to or fill up a data gap. You want to ensure that that goal and objective are feasible. I have encountered people at different stages of my life. I've encountered people that they would do research 2-3 years and find out that is no headway. They are not going to be able to complete it, and they will go back to the beginning and start a different research altogether. I would say for me, if you have a very good understanding of your research from the beginning or the area to which you're looking into, and even if you don't have enough understanding, you are able to groom yourself to be able to have this understanding of different areas or have an understanding of the research that you're trying to get yourself into. I believe you'll be able to set up goals and objectives that will be feasible. So I would say that is very key. Set up goals and objectives that are very feasible for any research that you're trying to do. You have to pay close attention to research design and data analysis. Like I said from the beginning or in the part of the presentation, the data analysis is very key. Publication is very key. The success of your research is also very key. To the design of that research is also very key, and you need to pay close attention to that. Learn more. If you don't know about parametric analysis, categorical, data and the likes, try and have an understanding of that. You don't have to know everything like the expert who is a statistician, but at least have some knowledge. A statistician cannot just deceive me right now. If I take my data to a statistician, I'm going to have a dialogue, not a one-way direction traffic conversation or monologue. It's going to be a conversation. So if a statistician is saying this is what they need to help me do, I would say, how about this? And have that dialogue rather than a monologue. And I know that a good number of, maybe some, I wouldn't say a good number, there are early career researchers that are still out there that the entire part of their statistics is not even known to them. Somebody else did it, they cannot even defend it. And I've had situations like that when I go to conferences, I go for presentation. If you present before me, I can tell in my questioning of your data analysis and your response that you didn't do it yourself. And you don't want that to be the case. So I would say, to avoid people like me coming to make you start to question your understanding of your work, because you will see people like me out there, especially people that are fascinated with data analysis, for you not to feel inferior in your own research, because you should be able to defend it confidently. You want to ensure that you have to keep knowledge, at least basic knowledge of the data analysis, even if someone else did your work, did that aspect for you. Utilize databases and in silico tools. I don't know about many other bodies that are out there, but for my own field as toxicology or as a toxicologist, and I know that there are so many of my colleagues that are here as well that are toxicologists, you will need to utilize databases and in silico tools. There are databases that are commercialized, you have to pay for it, and there are some that are only available to big organizations, and there are some that, many of them, that are available to us freely. Like if you go into, I have a presentation I had with my company on how I make decision on a certain chemical. And the amount of data places I collect information from was so much that even without doing any form of research, I could make a literature, I could present a literature publication just from sourcing, through these databases as well. And in silico tools are out there for you to make predictions. I have a couple of them that I installed on myself on my laptop. We have the Case Ultra. Is QSAR models that are quantitative structure activity relationship software that can help you to tell the possible outcome of a chemical that you are trying to expose to a rat or any form of animal study that you're trying to conduct, or in vitro cells. You are already able to have chemical databases, rather chemical databases or in silico tools that will help you to have some form of background knowledge of what your possible outcome may be if you expose this chemical to this particular organism, what may take place. Whether a particular chemical is a possible carcinogen, or to human or to animal, or is it genotoxic, a genotoxicant, or is it a reproductive toxicant, or is, all kinds of endpoints that you can think of. We have in silico tools that will predict based on the structure of the chemical and the physical chemistry of the chemical. We help you to make a prediction based on that. Not every one of us is privy to that, but I would say it's possible.
Toma,
yes.
You have like 3 minutes more.
3 minutes
5
more.
minutes more to hand. Yeah,
Oh.
for us to go to the question and answer session.
Yeah, that would be great. That would be great. Okay, so just for me to quickly run through this, improve teamwork and collaborate wisely. That is very, very key. We need to work towards, having an inclusion and diversity. You could have as many people at different stages to come into collaborating with your own research. Could be utilizing undergrads and the likes. We need to anticipate that, yes, there will always be pushback, but then it shouldn't deter us. And we have to be very determined and persistent, and we have to plan for sustainability such that whatever research we're doing it for the fact that even if we are incapacitated in continuing, somebody else can replicate our study and take it on from there. And then we ability to also write good papers. And in writing good papers, many journals are looking for studies that are novel, that are clear, non-plagiarized, and using the key format of introduction, method, results, and discussion. So I would say take note of all these. I might share this very slide with everyone as well on the group, so at least you can use that to remind yourself of things that I might have talked about today. And for my own personal story and the journey, which I've talked through some of the information that I provided initially, is the fact that I try to distinguish myself. And in distinguishing myself led me to this variety of degrees in interdisciplinary or multidisciplinary areas. I can work as a business manager. I can work as a toxicologist. I can work as a biochemist. I can work as an environmental scientist. I can work in different areas. If any of these positions come out and I feel like I'm part of it, I probably can apply. And I have research accomplishments that have been done through, that have been funded by, key part of these professional bodies, regulatory bodies that are here in the US. And then research articles doesn't have to be crazily much. You can have 2, 3, 4, but citation is very key to it. If you have 20 and it's cited 10 times, you don't want that. Even if it's few, you want high quality research that people see as relevant to be able to cite in their own studies as well. Get certified, and I did that in my own life as well, to get board certified, to be able to distinguish myself from others. I've received a lot of training along this very path to be able to distinguish myself in another way as well, through leadership programs, postdoctoral training, technical training, and I still take job interviews. I would encourage you, even if you are not still looking for a job for now, just attend job interviews to build more on your confidence and be able to have a better understanding of what people are looking out there, or interviewers are looking for out there. Get more skills like I've done in my own case with a variety of instrumentation, analytical, molecular and the likes, and computational tools of different kinds. And I think with that, some resources are put out there. You can take a look at it after, this slide has been shared with us. And I've been able to also include a research funding for developing countries. I think that's just a database that kind of put together different funding sources for those of us in developing countries. And I think with that, I would say thank you all for listening to this talk today. We can have a dialogue based on all what we talked about tonight. Thank you so much.
Wow, Dr. Omar, thank you so much. You have given us so much today to digest. And I can see that several people have questions. They have been dropping the question on the chat box. So, and for those who want to ask the question directly, please kindly use the hand raise, electronic hand raise so that I can give you the floor. Thank you so much. Do we have questions? Okay, maybe I can take some from the chat box. One, I've missed some because I was logged out at one point, and I know some people have asked questions, but I have one here. He said, good evening. Does the exchange program by the professional organization work for all departments or just science alone? That's from Ghanaian Aderemi.
Okay.
Dr. Omar?
Yeah, so to quickly respond to that, it should depend on the professional body.
Okay.
It should depend on the professional body to which you belong to. You can tap into this opportunity. If it's a very global professional body, they would always have something like that because there are different categories to their membership. And the membership that is part of postdoctoral, early career researchers, they will have something that is tied to that. In most cases, I would say, if it's a very good professional body that is looking forward to grooming their early career researchers, they would have that.
Okay. Then another one from Paul Ilugusi. He said, as early career researcher, how do we get access to research grants?
As early career, okay, how do we get access to grants? Grants are always out there. You know, it's not that how do you get access to it? How you need to source for it yourself. That is very key. You will need to source for it. One way to source for it would be, you know your field. Do you have an idea what organizations may actually are out there that are putting grant? Like in my own case, for example, I'm a toxicologist. Let me put it in my own case scenario. You use the same example in your own area of discipline. I'm a toxicologist. I know that EPA likes to do research that are tied to me because when I read publications, I know EPA have done research in certain things that are toxicology related. NIH is there, NIHS is there, US, NSF is there and the likes. Even me myself, when I was in grad school, I did research that was funded by National Science Foundation in my second PhD, USDA in my first PhD, EPA in my postdoc. So I already know that these organizations are out there. And if you go to their webpage, they have tons of research grants that are out there. Another way as well is I have seen on my professor's page, on the announcement page of my institution, many professors that are getting research grants and they are getting it from these different organizations. So obviously, it led my university to go into the website of all these organizations and looking for the list of those grants because it will be there. You will see the names of people that have been given grants, the school that they belong to and all that, how much they were given. So if you go into some of these professional organizations that are tied to your own discipline, definitely you may find some to be able to get out. Outside that, Google search is always your friend. You can always Google what are the research grants. Let's say, for example, you want to do a research on PFAS exposure, Google grants, that are out there on research on PFAS, exposure. You will see so many organizations that might probably have money to sponsor such a study. It might be that you want to do research that is on bats and the likes. You would see based on Google search as well.
Thank you so much. We have one hand raised Infinix Smart 3 Plus. Please, can you have the floor?
Thank
Your name
you
is not there. Infinix Smart 3, all right.
very much, Dr. Oma. In fact, so happy I did, even though network was really disturbing. I was going off and on, but I'm very, very happy I'm part of this and I'm grateful. I listened to you carefully. In fact, I was requesting from the chat box, please, if you can be my mentor. And I for your email and I gave you mine. I am a nurse by profession, but I read health education.
Okay.
And the area of specialty is emotional and mental health. And it's from my experience in nursing that I really went into that area from my clinical experience. I realized that most of our patients, their problems are not physical, but more of emotional and psychological, actually. So, but I am like a JJC. Most of the things you were saying, I know that many of you know about categorical data and all this and all that. Personally, I am seriously not clear. Then they are confusing to, and I've been looking for an opportunity to be taught, to learn, because I like being abreast of anything I'm doing. Now, I like to know what I'm doing very well. So I really have problem in that area. So I wouldn't know whether there will be another webinar where can be explained to us for those of us that are beginners that don't really know so much.
Okay.
So that
Okay. Yeah. I think with respect to the first aspect of request to be a mentor, yeah, we can always, work that out. And as long as there's a goal towards that, and uh, distance and time difference won't be an impairment to such. I'm fine to that. I have a platform that I run that I have over 600 mentors that I take care of. So, and that is mainly for those that are trying to come to the US to come and study, or go to the UK, or come to Canada and the likes. Outside that, with respect to statistics and webinars, I think in my own mind,
okay. So
okay. So I would say in that
I
area,
just
okay, you want to say something? Let me quickly just complete it.
Yeah, just finish that. Yes.
With respect to
Finish
statistics,
what?
with respect to statistics and having a grounded knowledge in that, if you follow up with, I think Jonah 8 is doing a great job, and they've conducted webinars through experts that are statisticians, whom I know a few of them as well, to kind of teach and guide those that are not as grounded as some of us are in the area of statistics. And at times you might need a statistician who have an understanding even of your area. But I would say everyone who is probably good enough with statistics, even if it's not your area, can also still help guide in some way. Basic understanding of that, you may need to take any other video that you might Journal 8 Club already have uploaded on YouTube. You might need to get access to that. Additionally, you might need to just take some MOOC with what's it called now, Coursera and the likes. They have quite a number of introductory statistics or beginner statistics that you can take, and you can even get certification that you can add to your resume by learning and taking those exams and passing them. So you might need to go through those routes. And if you need one-on-one, let's say you have a research ongoing and you need guidance, and you need someone to kind of explain that to you so that you can have a dialogue, then you can reach out to some of us on the Journal 8 Club that are scientists or statisticians, or have some knowledge of statistics, or the statisticians on the group. That would be my response to that.
thank you very much.
Thank you, Doctor. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you very much,
Go
Doc.
ahead, madam.
Okay, thank you, ma. Thank you, ma. Please, Doc, I think maybe you send me your email so
Okay.
I can reach out to you for some of these groups you're talking about. Or
Okay.
your phone. I requested for that before now.
If
I sent a message. I gave you a private chat.
Okay, no problem.
Can respond now. I'll now take your email and perhaps your WhatsApp phone number.
No problem. No problem.
I appreciate.
Thank you. Madam, if I may also further, like someone has already chatted it on the chat, that is AutoAid. Are you a member of the AutoAid National Research Hub? Hello?
I just joined.
Oh, you
You
still
just
need
joined. Okay, so he's also on that platform. He's one of us. Dr. Omar is one of us, and also the Journal Club, the AutoAid Journal Club. You get more information about all of this question you are asking. And also there's someone here, Dr. Omar, there's a question posed here. He said, I just got an opportunity. This question is by Albashir Take. He said, I just got an opportunity to work on TED Fund research for my MSc in pharmacology and therapeutic. However, I got another opportunity in pharmacology and toxicology by a different team, which relates more to the work I did during my first degree. What do you advise? Dr. Omar, do you have any advice for that person?
Oh, yeah. See, I think my advice for that would be, at times you may need to, one, you need to go with your gut, but in going with that, you need to have it checked by certain things. Are you going to actually love it while you're actually on the project? Because there are many people that get frustrated and you don't want to do research of 2-3 years or whatever number of months from a very frustrative standpoint. I have seen people start research and they have to run off it because they couldn't get it done, or because they don't have the motivation is not there, the full understanding is not there. And then the group you're going to work with is very key. The relationship you're going to build with that. Because for me, I have had situations whereby I've been chased away from a lab just because my energy was just too much for them to bear, and they feel like I'm doing so much in the different things that may be impacting what they feel as an impact, which I don't see as an impact. I was just probably, I think they would say, or my professors would say, I'm over ambitious, and I don't see that ambitious because I know where I came from and I see all this opportunity for free. I will tap it. So who you're going to deal with is also very key, because you don't want people to impair your journey or things, because I've had people that I've encouraged to go certain place. Part of my mentees that I've encouraged to go a certain direction, but because they felt these people have been nice to them at the early phase before getting the job or getting into the lab, they felt it would be better for them to go this direction. And they went the other direction. 6 months later, they came back to tell me, oh, I wish I had gone the direction I told them. So I don't want to tell you to go one way or another. You need to know who you're dealing with, and you need to research more on these very people you're going to deal with on the research, and ensure that you're going to enjoy the research.
Thank you. Then other is that it says, sir, do you think the early career researchers should start collaborative research among themselves before involving in established researcher? What do you have to say about that?
Yeah, I don't think that should be serial. I don't think that should be serial in any way. It can be a parallel relationship. You can have people that are collaborating with, that are, within your community and within your very level, and you can tap, you can overreach into the other global space for people that are already established in that area as well. It doesn't have to be one way or another. You can have it parallel. If you have it only in one direction for now, then keep it. But always ensure that you can tap into dealing with people that are also established in the area.
Okay. In addition, Dr. Omar, please, I want you to shed a little more light on the exchange program, like a researcher taking up another an exchange program somewhere else and all that. Okay. So can you just please shed more light on that?
Oh, okay. So in my professional organization, Society of Toxicology, they are very big on that. Every year, there will always be at least 5 scientists from across the globe that are early career researchers from all these developing countries that will come to, it doesn't have to even be US, it could be Europe. As long as it's an advanced environment for you to gain more knowledge, the society will be the one to pay for everything. All expenses paid. Your own is just to apply and you get an established professor who is ready to take you up on the other side, and then apply through the professional body. And the body will, if they approve you, they will take care of everything. That's the beauty part of it. And the additional beauty part of it is the body will then bring you again to the US during their conference to come and showcase you to the, and put you all of your information across their own conference pamphlets and booklets and the like. And then on the award ceremony day, they will also showcase you to over 6,000 of us that are toxicologists from all across the globe, just for being part of this exchange program. So exchange program is very, it's a good thing because it's all expense paid, I would say. It doesn't have to be only through professional bodies by itself alone. I have seen people that have done it's not even exchange in this case, because you might decide to go home, you might decide not to go home. If it's with professional body, it's an exchange program, you may need to go home. But there are some that are referred to as research participation. And you may look into, for those of us that are doing, if you are in science area, for example, you may check out for Zintellect. Zintellect is another body. If you want to work with a lot of organizations that are regulatory body in the US, EPA, CDC, and the likes, I've seen people come all the way from another country and they give them J1 visa. They call it exchange scholar visa. And then you come and do research for like 1 year, 2 years. If you decide to stay here, if you decide to go back home, you can renew, you can go back home. So there are a lot of opportunities that are out there that you can tap into with respect to exchange programs. It's a variety. That alone we can have a lot of conversation around.
Okay, maybe we can have a session on that. Just keep that in mind. Let me give room for Benjamin Karikari.
Yes.
As a round-up, after Benjamin, then Dr. Salisu will go on. Then we'll call it a day. But meanwhile, before you go ahead, please, I will also appreciate everyone to please fill the attendance form, and some of the links that were posted on the chat box, please kindly help us fill them so that we can start from that for the next program or webinar.
Yeah, I see so many questions also on here.
Exactly. But I'm thinking that I will be able to take off.
Time is gone. I would say whoever probably had put that question on here, I would take this. So this is what's gonna happen. When this meeting is ended, the chat will be saved. And so what I would do is I will respond to the chat and then send it to the group, save chat. Let me even save the chat.
Oh,
right now.
Thank you
So
very much.
I will respond to it,
that'll be fine.
and then I will send it to the platform, to the journal platform, and they can share it. Whichever platform you're able to join from, you will get to share it across.
Oh, thank you. So
You're
go
welcome.
on.
Yes. Thank you very much, Dr. Oman and the organizers. As you mentioned, there's a need for us to have professional career development path. I want to ask, what are some of the factors that one must consider before accepting a postdoc in another country? For example, if you have offer from, let's say, Canada or Germany, from your experience, which of these two countries will you recommend? And then what are some of the other factors that one must consider in making such a decision? Thank you.
If research opportunities, a postdoc comes from a variety of countries, which should you consider? If I get you right.
Yes, you are right. And then what are some of the other factors that one must take into consideration before accepting an offer from a country?
Okay. I think for me, is a research needing you to have a different language. That's number one. If it's an English-speaking country with English as being the main way of having to get the research done, it could be an advantage. It could be one of the considerations you have to put in place. If it's going to be a long-term research that would contribute to you having to speak a different language, and you are open to that, I think it can also be an additional advantage also in the long run for you. But if you know that it's going to be a difficulty, language barrier is going to be a difficulty, because in research, if you're communicating and collaborating, you want to ensure that you are all on a similar page in terms of understanding how you guys communicate. I think that is very, very key. And if you're going to have to do that, another part that I see to that is the prospect of you then transitioning from, because you're not going to stay in that research forever. Then you have to have a clearer picture of the bigger goal. What becomes of you after you're done with that study? How well are you really going to be valuable even in that environment after you've completed the research? So that is also very key consideration. So for me, I see a number of considerations that I will look into. Say, for example, if I have to go to Germany versus US or United Kingdom, and English is a barrier that I'm going to have, and I don't want to go through the headache, I'll probably go somewhere else where I know I don't have to have English as a barrier. And it might just be that I am very much interested in learning a German language. It will be an additional, and they're going to pay all of my training to have that language, as an addition to my own skill. Yeah, I might go that direction as well. So a variety of things can be involved. And if you are someone who's got family, kids, your wife, your spouse, is also, those are the things you have to put into consideration, because whatever you're doing, you have to have a work-life balance, and you have to carry them along as well, if that is the case for some of us. So I would say, if you have a family that you have to consider, then you may need to put that in place. And if you're still very much single as well, it also can be something you have to consider that, okay, I can freely go anywhere and nothing is holding you back. Language barrier, people you're going to deal with, you have to have a very strong communication understanding. What do you then need to do after you're done with the research? What are the prospects of you actually looking for a job when you're done? What type of research in those places you're trying to get done? Because there's some research that can catapult you to the next phase, and there's some research that you're just there. It's not going to take you beyond that research. What are you going to do after? So there are some research that will beget another research, and those are the things you have to consider when choosing specific research and specific location. And then,
thank you, Dr.
In addition to that, there are some countries you will go to. You can, if your intention is to stay, when you go to those places, what is now the immigration procedure for you to actually stay back? If it's going to be a very rigorous one, that if you don't get a job, you may be chased out of the country, then you have to actually look into the bigger picture and not just that research by itself.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Dr. Homer, okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. We need to close now. And I believe Dr. Homer will help us to answer all the questions. And majorly also, which I also want you to address in your question, when you're addressing those questions, for those non-science, because some people who are not from science, they have been raising concern that it seems majority are scientists, and the presentation also tilts towards sciences. Yeah, so for non-science, please, you can also help us to address that when you're addressing those questions in the chat box. So thank you very much. Yeah. Thank you for giving us your time. Thank you all for joining. Okay. Dr. Salisu.
Yeah. Right? I don't know what she's trying to ask. And then
I will not take much of your time. I will personally chat Dr. Omar on my area of toxicology that I just developed interest. But what I would like to drop, I would really want to drop for early careers, very, very early careers on this platform, is to take advantage of this particular journal club. Dr. Idowu will actually agree with me if you had been exposed to this kind of capacity building before we got our PhD. It will have been something else.
But
So I keep saying
exactly.
it. Exactly. I wish I'd had this information before I even embarked on my PhD journey. And I want to use this opportunity to tell those on board, either you're into a master's or a PhD, to harness all this information that you got this night. Involve yourself in this journal club, you will not regret it. I'm not saying it's too late for it, but for some people like us, we are here to get the knowledge, to mentor those out there so that they can get to that destination when unable to get to. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Sorry, how do you join the club?
I think it will depend on how
It has been, it's just posted now. Dr. Duafi just posted the link. So you can join the hub just by clicking that link. She just
Okay.
posted it now by Dr. Duafi. She posted it on the chat box. So for as many people that want to join, just register, just click on the link, and we can ask any further question that you may need to ask. Then you get exposed to all of our webinars. There are a series of webinars that have been done on the from the hub. So please, I will advise everyone to please join that hub. Thank you very much. So Dr. Omar, thank you very much for your time. Thank you for this exciting and explosive presentation. We are so glad, and I'm sure a lot of people too are glad about this. Thank you.
Thank you.
And we hope that next time you'll be able to come back to give us another explosive presentation on exchange program and other opportunities out there. Thank you so much.
Thank
So,
you.
Thank you, Dr. Omar.
Mr. Diola, thank you.
Dr. Aneyo, thank
So
you.
please, let's, for some of us that are on, still on, please can we put on our videos so that we can take picture. Dr. Omar, please, you help us drop the picture, your slide, drop it. Then you help us take the picture from your hand.
Okay.
Okay, so
okay,
please let everybody turn up their video so that we can take the picture. Yeah, thank you.
Okay. Turn on your video and thanks for joining.
So drop the presentation, drop the
now you need to post the presentation.
Slide sharing.
Oh, it's still sharing? I thought it's out.
Yes, it's still sharing.
Oh, let me stop it. Thank you. Okay, so now it's out. Let's see, how do I drag this to make everybody come up? I was seeing it just now. Okay, let's see. I'm only seeing ID space at the bigger side. I'm trying to bring everybody in. As the view. Okay, I've been able to bring everybody in now. So most likely we may not be able to get everybody at once.
Can take as many as possible. Different.
Dr. Omar, could you please make the slides available on the platform?
Oh yeah.
Yes, it will definitely do that.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. So let me take picture. I'm trying to remove something on my screen for everybody's face that's on one side. So let's see. Put on your video. Who else? Let me be mentioning name. Mariam. Your video is not showing. Kojo. My guys, yeah. Your video is not showing. I must see your face. Okay. Mariam, Sule, your video is not showing yet. Who else that I'm seeing here? Godfrey or Naifo. Your video is not showing. Edna, Azikwe, your video is not showing. Sahid, Adesokon, your video is not showing. So you try and bring it on so that we can have you on here. Oluwa Lunimi Ayola, your video is not showing. Who else? Moture something needs to show as well. Okay, I think I have quite a number now that I can actually screenshot. Give me a second. Give me a second. I need to give me a second. It's about to come up. Okay, I'm gonna get this one now. First one. Okay, I got first. Let me save that.
Thank you.
You're welcome. That is auto aid 1. So I'm gonna take 1 or 2 more. Let's see who else I'm gonna be able to capture. Let me go to the second part. Just give me a second. Don't run away. Okay, let's see. Okay, this one's coming. The second one.
I think some of us can drop so the others can be captured.
Yeah, I will even move it to the next.
Okay.
I'll move it to the next one because I know I can always move the picture. Don't run away. Oh. I've listened to us, so we must have space. Okay, another one is coming.
You enjoying it?
Yes, sir. Let me see one. Let me say for the other group that are not showing here, AA2, and then I will take the last one out to make the third one. Group 2. So on group 2, many people are here. Wow, so many people here. Oh yeah, put on your video. Miriam Sule. Okay, I think I've seen Dr. Fumlaya already. Felicia, your video is not showing. Chinwe,